And they are affected by Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So therefore, in order to bring Sattva Guna to the people, and in order to steady them, in order to purify their bad habits, in order to make them come to the Sattva Guna, and so that they can better take shelter of the hearing and chanting, these processes are recommended by the Acharyas. So Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharatri Vidhi, following them simultaneously, enables one to make steady progress. So further, Vidura is asking, Swadharmashilai Purushair Bhagavan Yajna Purushaha Ijyamano Bhaktimata Naradiniri Takkila.
All the Vachitas were exhibiting religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies and thus worshipping the supreme personality of Godhead for his grace and for his satisfaction. The great sage Narada described transcendental quality of Guru knowledge.
So Bhakti Mata Naradena. So Narada Muni, who is actually endowed with Bhakti, Swadharma Shilai Purushaihi Ijyamanaha Bhagavan Yajna Purusha Kila Iritaha. So Narada Muni, who is endowed with Bhakti, and he actually Iritaha means described. He glorified the Bhagavan, who is the Yajna Purusha. Narada Muni glorified the Bhagavan, who is Yajna Purusha, who is Ijyamana, who is actually worshipped through the sacrifices, or who is worshipped by performing the Swadharmas, Swadharma Shilai. So when the Prachetas were executing their prescribed duties, sacrificial ceremonies, Narada Muni described the transcendental qualities of Dhruva Maharaj. So here, Acharya it's very interesting point. So Vamshidhara, he mentions the Prachetas were performing different sacrifices. So, many sacrifices are performed in order to worship the Devatas. So the Vamshidhara is actually clarifying. Sakshan Narayana Eva Charu Purodashadi Dravya Swamitvena. So they were worshipping by offering different Purodasha is a particular preparation offered in the Vedic sacrifice. They were by offering different Purodasha in the Vedic sacrifice, they were actually worshipping Sakshat Narayan. They were worshipping Sakshat Narayan only. And Tad Abhimanyagni Agni Devata Antaryamitven. Although the Prachetas were externally worshipping the different Devatas, but this Sakshat Narayana is the Antaryami, is the super soul of the Devatas whom they were worshipping. Therefore, they were actually worshipping Sakshat Narayana, who is the super soul of the different Devatas to whom the different offerings were made. So therefore, although externally they appear to be worshipping the Devatas, but internally they were worshipping the Antaryami, the super soul, Sakshat Narayana in the heart of the Devatas. So that this is clarified by one of the Acharyas here. So Prabhupada explains that Sve Sve Karmanyabhirata Samsiddhim Labate Nara. by performing one's prescribed duties to worship the Lord, one can please the Supreme Lord. Atha Kumbhi Rajasreshya Varnashrama Vibhagasaga Swanishritasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. So these two verses are quoted in relation to the word Swadharma Shilai Purushai. So Narada Pancharatra is a directory on bhakti. The devotees can take information about how to execute bhakti and thus engage 24 hours a day. So Vidura is asking that how did Narada Muni glorify the Supreme Lord and what pastimes were described in that meeting? I am very eager to hear of them. So kindly explain fully about the glorification of the Lord. So Maitreya Rishi, he begins to answer, but in order to answer the question about the Prachetas actually come in the Vamsha of Dhruva Maharaj. Therefore, Maitreya Rishi starts narrating the Vamsha of Dhruva Maharaj after Dhruva Maharaj. He says that after Dhruva Maharaj departed for the forest, his son Utkala, he did not have desire to enjoy the kingdom. Sarva Bhauma Shriyam Na Ichat. Sarva Dhruva Maharaj, he was the emperor of the whole planet. Sarva Bhauma Shriyam. That was the extent of his kingdom. But Dhruva's son Utkala Na Ichat. He didn't desire that. He did not accept the opulent throne of his father. Adhiraja Sanam Pituhu. Adhiraja Asanam Pituhu. So he didn't have the desire. He was actually, Utkala was, the Acharya say that Utkala was renounced from the birth. They use the word Janmana. Right from the birth, he was actually, naturally he was renounced. Janmana, Janma Prabhuti. 7th verse. Sajanmanopa Shantatma Nissanga Samadarshanaha Dadarsha Loke Vidatam Atmanam Lokamatmani.
From his deadly birth, Utkala was fully satisfied and unattached to the world. He was equipoised for him to see everything resting in the super soul, and the super soul present in everyone's heart.
So, Saha Janmana Upashantatma. Janmana, right from the birth, Upashantatma. Upashantatma is he was completely satisfied. Nissanga. Nissanga, he was without any attachment. Samadarshana, he had equipoised nature. And what was his vision? Loke Atmanam Atmani Lokam Vitatam Dadarsha. So Loke Atmanam Atmani Lokam Vitatam Dadarsha, it is exactly equivalent to the Gita verse Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Cha Mai Pashyati. Next line. Tasyaham na Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Cha Mai Pashyati Tasyaham na Pranashyami Sachamena Pranashyati. So Krishna says that an advanced yogi sees everything situated in the Supreme Lord. And he sees the Lord situated in everything. So what does it mean? That means when the universe is existing, then advanced yogi sees that how the super soul is present everywhere. The Lord is situated everywhere as a super soul. And when the universe is annihilated, all the living entities, they enter into the body of Vishnu. They are situated in the body of Vishnu. They go and sleep in the body of Vishnu, and then the next creation starts, they are again woken up. So that is what it means, that seeing everything situated in the Lord, and the Lord is situated in everything. If the Lord is situated in everything, that means that that is actually during the creation. Super soul is situated in everywhere. And everything situated in the Lord, this aspect is when the annihilation happens, all the living entities are situated in the Lord. So Utkala had this vision actually. A highly advanced Mahabhagavata sees in this spirit, he sees the same spirit soul existing within everyone's heart. And the next two verses also describe about the Utkala. We'll recite together. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam Avyavachinna Yogagni Dagda Karma Malashayah Swarupam Avarundano Natmanonyam Tadekshata.
Of his knowledge of the supreme being. He had already attained liberation from the bondage of the body. His liberation is known as nirvana. He was situated in transcendental bliss, and he continued always in that blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by continual practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is compared to fire, because it burns away all dirty material things. He was always situated in his constitutional position of self-realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord and himself engaged in discharging devotional service.
So Atmanam Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham. So this Utkala, he actually realized the Supreme Brahman, realized the position of the soul. So Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyastamita Vigraham. So Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam means he realized the position of the Jiva, how it is qualitatively one with the Brahman. And Pratyastamita Vigraham. He was in a liberated state. Pratyastamita Vigraham means Nirasta Vivadam. In the liberated state, a person is devoid of any arguments. Nirasta Vivadam. There is a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but Mahaprabhu is described as Samyak Shastra Vivadaya Rasadaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the quarrels and disagreements arising from different scriptures are vanquished. So liberated stage, there are no more arguments and quarrels. So Pratyastamita Vigraha means he has realized that state. That means like all his doubts are dispelled, he is no more, he is freed from all the arguments. Pratyastamita Vigraham Avabodha Rasa. Avabodha Rasaikatmyam. So we know Shanta Rasa, Bhakti Rasa, Dasya Rasa. Avabodha Rasa means he was experiencing the rasa coming from spiritual knowledge. Or he had a pure knowledge. Avabodha Rasa. And there are like other places in the Bhagavatam also the word Avabodha Rasa comes. For example, in the third canto it comes. Avabodha Rasa, and Brahma is praying that Rupam Yadetat Avabodha Raso Udayena. The Lord has accepted a form by the influence of the Chit Shakti. Avabodha Rasa means Chit Shakti. Or Avabodha Rasa is described as the so that means to those people who depend on the Supreme Lord with absolute conviction, the Lord grants the divine eye of knowledge. So here the word Avabodha Rasa means Utkala had a pure knowledge, or he was experiencing the rasa of pure knowledge. Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam. And he was experiencing bliss, which is Anusantatam, all pervading. And Avyavachinna Yogagni. Avyavachinna means the continuous. By the continuous practice of the path of yoga, which is like a fire, what happened? Dagda karma malashaya. Dagda karma malashaya. All the contamination of karma in his heart was destroyed or burnt by the continuous practice of the fire of yoga. And as a result, Swarupam Avarundano. He realized the Swarupa of the soul and the super soul. Na Atmano Anyam Tada Aikshata. Na Atmano Anyam Tada Aikshata. That means he saw nothing except the pure Atma. So Atma can refer to the soul or it can refer to the super soul. So Prabhupada explains that essentially Utkala was situated in the Brahma Bhuta stage, the liberated platform. Therefore he quotes that verse. And then he says that this Brahma Bhuta stage can be attained by the chanting of the holy names. I think this Dagda Karma Malashaya, this can be achieved by chanting of the holy name. That is why Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. So he quotes that verse also. And then to explain that how Utkala was so renounced, he explains that how when a person experiences superior pleasure, the sign of that is that there is a natural detachment which simultaneously happens. The more a person makes advancement, the more one becomes detached from material opulence and material activity. Param Drishtva Nivartate. Yeah. Further about the Utkala, it is described. Jadandabadironmatta Mukta Kritiratan Matihi Lakshitapati Balanam Prashantarchir Ivanalaha.
Translation. Utkal appeared to the less intelligent person on the road to be foolish, blind, dumb, deaf, and mad. Although actually he was not so, he remained like fire covered in ashes, without place and purpose.
So Utkala appeared to be like a dumb, deaf, and mad person. So less intelligent people. Atanmati means was actually not. So Prashantarchir Ivanalaha. He was like a fire with extinguished flames. Sometimes there is a fire in a place, but you can't identify that the fire is there. Fire is covered by some ashes. So that is like in the 11th canto, the Avadut Brahmana describes about the different gurus. he accepts the earth, water, fire, air, ether also as the guru. He accepts the fire as a guru, and then he explains that how he learned many things from the fire. One thing he says is that Kvachit Channa Kvachit Spashta Upasya Shreya Ichatam. A saintly person is like a fire. Sometimes he is Channa, he is in a concealed form, and other times he is actually reveals himself. Spashta, Kvachit Spashta. Upasya Shreya Ichatam. He is worshipped by those desiring the highest benefit. So many times a saintly person conceals his exalted spiritual position. But to instruct the suffering people of the world, he sometimes reveals his own greatness. So, like even Chitraketu Maharaj, after being instructed by Narada Muni and Angira Rishi, Chitraketu Maharaj, he couldn't recognize that they were Narada and Angira. But after getting the transcendental knowledge, he says that you both have come here dressed like Avadutas just to cover your identities. But I see that of all men, you are the most elevated in awareness. You know everything as it is, therefore you are the greatest of all great personalities. So like Jadabharat or Utkala, so these personalities sometimes they appear like people who don't have any awareness, but actually they have the highest awareness. So Utkala was like that. Yeah, generally a saintly person does not advertise oneself, but especially in the current times, sometimes self-glorification, sometimes it has to be used as a tool for the glorification of Krishna. Self-glorification, sometimes devotees write, say, biographies about oneself. So usually when you speak about yourself, that is equivalent to committing suicide actually. Mahabharata says that when a person glorifies oneself, by that one loses all the pious credits, and it's like suicide. But sometimes self-glorification, Narada Muni spoke about his own story to Vyasadeva. But for what purpose? That in order to explain that how the cause of bhakti is the association of devotees. To explain that Siddhanta, he spoke his own story. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami spoke his own story for the purpose of glorifying the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. So Prabhupada says that persons like Utkala, another example of a person like Utkala is like a Gaur Krishodas Babaji Maharaj. Gaur Krishodas Babaji Maharaj, like sometimes he would sit near the toilet and chant, because he was feeling the smell of the association of the materialistic people to be worse than the smell of urine and stool. So it can't be imitated, but he was like a people, Kali Yuga, they externally keep very much everything clean, but they are hardly bothered about the internal cleanliness. So Gaur Krishna Babaji Maharaj was like a Bhajananandi. He was also like a Utkala. So because Utkala was behaving like that, so therefore the elders, the elders in the dynasty, Kulavruddha, they thought that Utkala was like a retarded, mentally retarded, a mad person. Therefore, they enthroned the younger son of Dhruva Maharaj, Vatsara, to be the king. Along with the ministers, enthroned Vatsara. his younger brother, the son of Brahmi, as the king. I think Brahmi, if I don't have to, Brahmi is, I think, another name of Droma. Because the younger brother of Vatsara has to be the son of Dhruva Maharaj only. I guess Brahmi is the name of Dhruva only. Asha, Brahmi is the wife of Dhruva. Yeah. Okay. So Vatsara, they made Vatsara as the king. So one thing we can see that, like, even in the monarchical system, like, the decisions are made under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Monarchy is like, sometimes people, especially in the modern times, people say that democracy is superior to monarchy. They say that in democracy, even a chai wala can become the prime minister. In monarchy, is it possible? Monarchy is not possible. In democracy, even as a comedian can become the chief minister. Democracy, it's not, the monarchy, it's not possible. Like that, people may give different arguments. So they criticize the monarchy. But but these modern people, they don't want to, they will not allow the people to analyze, do a critical analysis of the democracy. For example, so these propagators of modernity, they should give the traditionalists a chance to explain why the monarchy functioned the way it functioned. So when you want to criticize monarchy, you should also give an opportunity for the traditionalists to explain the system of monarchy. So monarchy, externally speaking, it appears that only the person in that royal family, only he can become the king. It seems such a restrictive system. Democracy appears such a system, anybody can become the prime minister, chief minister. So, but actually, if you see, there are so many examples in the Shastra. We'll see in this one story that like Utkala was not appointed as the king, they appointed Vatsara. And then when Vena was not qualified, Vena will be dethroned. In the system of monarchy, Sumantara, who is Dasharatha's chariot driver, had the power to reprimand Queen Kaikeyi for her decision to send Ram to the forest. So in the monarchical system, even the driver had the capacity to reprimand a queen like Kaikeyi. And Bhishma, in his instruction, he says that a cruel king ought to be removed by the subjects. A cruel king should be removed by the subjects. They should throw him out of the kingdom and then they should actually punish him. And Sanjaya, who is the ordinary secretary of Dhritarashtra, would give strong warning to Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra never removed him from the post. Dushyanta adopted a qualified person and chose him, Bharat adopted a qualified person and chose him as a successor over his inefficient sons. Bharat Maharaj. Like that, many examples can be given. So, but on the other hand, the so-called free system of democracy, these people, they would not allow the freedom of speech to the media to criticize, etc. So in that way, here we will see some purports where Prabhupada talks about how the Brahmanas were, when they saw that the king was unqualified, they actually threw him out of the post. So then few verses describe the dynasty from Vatsara. So Vatsara's wife is called as Svarviti. She gave birth to 6 sons: Pushparna, Digmaketu, Isha, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya. So Vatsara's wife is called as Ishta, means worshipable. She had all the good qualities. So she was very faithful and obedient and affectionate to her husband. And they got 6 sons. And then Pushparna had 2 wives named Prabha and Dosha. So one Acharya gives a certain meaning. He said, Dhruva Maharaj he is like the presiding deity of the time factor. Dhruva Maharaj is the Adishta, yeah. Pushparnasya Prabhanama Doshan Cheti Dveparna. Yeah, Dhruva Maharaj is the presiding deity of the Adhishtatra Devata of the time factor. Dhruva Maharaj, because you will see later that I think the previous chapter also was described that Dhruva Maharaj became the ruler of the pole star, and all the planets are moving around the pole star. The 5th canto is described that the time factor controls the entire universe, but the time factor is functioning under the control of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is the Adishta Devata of the time factor. And Dhruva Maharaj's son is Vatsara. Time is measured through years. Vatsara means what? Years. So the present Samvatsara is called as, so yesterday, 2 days before the New Year started, the new Samvatsara. So Vatsara means a year. So Dhruva Maharaj's son is Vatsara. And Vatsara's wife is called as Swarviti. Swarviti, I don't know the literal meaning of the word Swarviti, but that is also connected with the time. And Swarviti and Vatsara, they gave birth to 6 sons. Pushparna, Tigmaketu, Isha, Urja, Vasu and Jaya. So these 6 sons, they represent the 6 Rutus. Because in a year, the 6 Rutus come. So these 6 sons represent the 6 Rutus. And and in each Rutu, there will be daytime and the night time. So Pushparna had 2 wives. Pushparna had 2 wives, Prabha and Dosha. Prabha and Dosha. Prabha is the daytime, Dosha is the night time. In each Ritu has daytime and nighttime. And when we talk about daytime is divided into 3 parts. Pratar, Madhyandina and Shayam. Morning time, afternoon and evening. So Prabha's 3 sons are called as Pratar, Madhyandina and Shaya. And Dosha is the night time. And night time is divided into 3 parts. Pradosha. In the Shiva temples, actually, if you have known that, Pradosha happens. Pradosha, and on the day, special puja to Lord Shiva happens. Pradosha is the later part of evening, after 6:37, something around that time. So the night time has 3 parts. One is Pradosha, another is Nishita. Pradosha, Nishita and Vyushta. Pradosha is the later part of evening, Nishita is the midnight, and Vyushta is the just before the Brahma Muhurta, that part. So Dosha's 3 sons are these, Pradosha, Nishita and Vyushta. And Vyushta, he begot a son named Sarvateja and his wife Pushkarini. So Vyushta is the last part of night time. That is like we can say the Brahma Muhurta time actually, just before the Brahma Muhurta. So at that time is the it seems that is a time suitable for. After that time, the lotuses start actually opening up. They start blooming. So Vyushta, he got married to Pushkarini, and then the son who was born is Sarvateja. The Sarvateja means one who exhibits great tejas. At that time, the lotuses start blooming. That way, there is a meaning behind these names also, given with Acharyas. And then Sarvateja, he begot a son named Chakshusha in his wife Akuti. So Sarvateja is also called as Chakshu, and he begot a son named Chakshusha in his wife called Akuti. And this Chakshusha became the Manu in the 6th Manvantara. And this Chakshusha, he married Nadwala. And this Nadwala, what was her quality? Virajam. Virajam means she was without passion, or she was without any fault. Or Virajam can be used that Chakshusha Manu gave birth to sons without passion in the womb of Nadwala. So he gave birth to 12 sons. So Prabhupada talks about the begetting sons without passion, that means by following the proper samskaras. The sons were born without passion, so therefore they had a faultless character. They had a faultless character. So 12 sons are named. And then Ulmukha, one of the sons, begot 6 good sons in his wife Pushkarini. And though among those 6 sons, one person is called as Anga. And now this Anga story comes. So the dynasty is described in a little fast in 4-5 verses. And then when the Anga's character comes, Maitreya Rishi puts a sudden break. Because Anga's story is something very instructive. Anga, the dynasty through Anga Maharaj is very instructive, so therefore he puts a break here. So this Anga Maharaj, in his wife Sunita, he gave birth to a fearful son named Vena. And then Anga Maharaj, being disgusted with Vena's character, he left home. And the sages who were angry at Vena cursed him. And then because the people were without a king, the population was tormented by the thieves. So at that time, the Brahmanas, they churned the right hand of Vena, and then the Prithu was born, who was then Amsha of Vishnu. So based on that, Vidura is asking some questions. We'll take it after the break. Anybody has any questions? After 5 minutes. We are afraid of the curse of the Brahmanas. So Vidura is asking a question based on this. So we see that in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when the narration is happening, even Maitreya Rishi just describes the story of Anga Maharaj, and Vena just briefly just mentions. Anga was one of the sons. Anga gave birth to Vena. When he saw that his son was very cruel, and therefore Anga decided to retire, the Brahmanas killed King Vena. He just mentions that. But that information that acts like a spark of inquisitiveness in the mind of Vidura. And then Vidura asks a question. And that question leads to the answer to this question that leads to several chapters from here of the story of Anga, Vena, and then the Prutu Maharaj story, which goes for 9 chapters. So many times we find in the Bhagavatam just some one information is mentioned, and then the person who is hearing that he is so attentive, he is so alert, and then he asks a question immediately, and then because of that question, the narration takes another course. The narration goes in the another direction for another 7, 8 chapters related to that particular question. So this question of Vidura, because of this question, we will see the later for so many 7, 8 chapters till 23rd chapter. Because in between also Vidura will ask certain questions. But essentially this question is leading to the description till the Prutu Maharaj going back together till the 23rd chapter. So Vidura is asking a question. Tasya Sheela Nide Sadhur Brahmanyasya Mahatmana Rajyat Katam Abhut Dushta Rajayat Vimanayaya. Sheela Nide. Anga Maharaj is a ocean of good qualities. Sadhu, he was a saintly person. Brahmanyasya Mahatmana, he was respectful to the Brahmanas. And Mahatmana, he was a great devotee. And how is it that Katam Abhut Dushta Ragya, how is it that he got a bad son? And to such an extent that because of the bad son, he left home. Rajayat Vimanayaya, he left his home in a disgrace. So, that's the question. And then, second question is about the Brahmanas cursing Vena. Kim Bamho Vena Uddishya Brahmadandam Ayuyujan Danda Vrata Dare Ragi Munayo Dharma Kovida. These Brahmanas are Dharma Kovida. They are conversant with Dharma. They understand they understand that their act would be sinful. Cursing a king to die, they understand that the act would be sinful. But how did they punish and curse Vena? Who is responsible for punishing others? So therefore, this is another question of Vidura. So Prabhupada explains that the family life is, there is a beautiful verse in the Niti also. Like he quotes from Chanakya Pandit, a family life is considered to be painful or distressful when the wife becomes unchaste, or if the father is in debt, or if the son becomes a foolish rascal, then the family life becomes miserable. In the case of Anga Maharaj, his son became a great asura. Therefore, Anga Maharaj's family life became miserable. So then, and then Vidura is further asking in the 23rd question, 23rd verse, is saying that the king, even if the king is sinful, Agavan Api, Na Avadhyeya, the king should not be disregarded by the citizens. Because Yad Asau Lokapalana, because the king maintains the effectiveness of the devatas by his power. Vibrat Yojasva Tejasa. So that is why a king should not be disregarded by the citizens, even if he is sinful. Even in the Western world, there is a saying that king can do no wrong. But how is it here the Brahmanas, they killed King Vena? Etad Akyahi me Brahman Sunitatmaja Cheshtitam Shraddhadanaya Bhaktaya Tvam Paravara Vittamaha. O Brahmana, knowledgeable of the past and present. Para avara vittama. So here para avara, sometimes the word para avara refers to superior and inferior. Para avara vittama here refers to knowledgeable of the past and future. So please tell us the activities of Vena. Sunitatmaja cheshtitam. Shraddhadanaya bhaktaya. I am a very faithful devotee. Please tell to me. So here we see that this question of the spiritual master is not inclined to disclose all the secrets of transcendental science unless the disciple is very submissive and devoted. So therefore, Vidura is actually pleading. Maitreya Rishi begins to answer. He begins by describing the sacrifice performed by Anga. So Anga Maharaj, he was performing a Ashwamedha Yajna. Ango Ashwamedham Rajarishir Ajahara Mahakratum Na Ajaknur Devatas Tasmin Ahuta Brahmavadibihi. So Ajahara means what? Ajahara means invited or he executed. He executed a Mahakratu, Ashwamedha. But then Devatas na ajagmu. The Devatas who are called by the Lord, called by the Brahmanas, did not come there. They did not come to previously the sacrifices. Devatas would personally come to accept the sacrificial offerings. But the Devatas did not come, so that was a that was an indication of some serious discrepancy in the sacrifice. So therefore, tam uchur vismitas tatra. Vismita, surprised. The priest became surprised. Yajamanam ata ritvija. Uchuhu yajamanam. The priest actually, they spoke to the yajaman. Yajaman is the Anga Maharaj. What did they say? Havimshi huyamanani nate gritnanti devata. Devatas na gritnanti. The Devatas do not accept the Havi is the particular sacrificial offering. Havimsi huyamananti. The Devatas don't accept the oblations we have offered. That is why they have not come to accept the offerings. And then they say, Rajan Havimsi adushtani. The Havi which we are offering, adushtani, it's not contaminated. And Shraddhasya Asadhitanite, whatever ingredients we used to prepare those offerings, they were collected with faith. Sometimes like when you are collected, there are different kinds of actually dosha. Just like in the food, there are 5 doshas in the food, it is said. Artha dosha, Nimitta dosha, Sthana dosha, Jati dosha and Samskara dosha. Artha dosha means suppose the food which is prepared, that in order to buy that food or in order to buy the ingredients, the money was earned by wrong means. Then that food is contaminated with the Artha dosha. Nimitta dosha means the person who is cooking that food, he didn't have a right mindset. Then the food becomes contaminated with the wrong mindset of that person. Nimitta dosha. And there is Sthana dosha. The place where the food is being cooked, in that place there are certain bad vibrations are present. Then the food becomes contaminated with that Sthana dosha. For each of them, there are different examples. That will be a different topic I just mentioned. And then there is Jati dosha. Jati dosha means the ingredients of the food, they should be in sattva guna. So certain sabjis or certain things are rajoguna, tamoguna, onion, garlic. Maybe you might have bought the onion with the money obtained through dharmic means. Maybe the person who is cooking may be with the right mindset, but the onion is in the rajoguna. Jati dosha is the ingredients are in the rajoguna and tamoguna. And then there is samskara dosha. Samskara dosha means, like for example, you boil the food more than required, overcook the food, or you fry the particular eatable more than required, then there is a samskara dosha. Or the food which is prepared few days before or many hours before, then it has a samskara dosha. Or otherwise, improper combination of the food. Improper combination of the food, like milk with certain salty items, it would be improper combination. They are like samskara dosha. So here, they are saying that we collected the food, like all the ingredients were not contaminated, and they were collected with faith. Shraddasya asadini, Shraddasya Shraddaya sadhitanite. Chandamsi ayata vamani. The mantras were chanted properly. The mantras are not weak. And yojitani drita vratai. The mantras were chanted by the drita vratai, the brahmanas with dedicated vows. So therefore, like, but still the devatas have not come. So they are trying to do a basically, what do we say, sometimes even the corporate field, some terms used, like troubleshooting. Yeah, troubleshooting. They are trying to do troubleshooting. Like why the devatas have not come? They are trying to see the ingredients are improper, or the brahmanas did not chant the mantras. So here Prabhupada says that because he talks about how in this age the brahmanas are neither well versed in Sanskrit nor very pure in practical life, but by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. So then they say that, so like when you follow the right process of Harinam Sankirtan, even if there are some mistakes in performing that, but still it will have great potency. But if you follow the previous process for the previous age with great attention, but if there is one small mistake also, there will not be any result. Karma Kanda, when you perform imperfectly, you get opposite result. When you perform incompletely, you don't get any result. When you perform perfectly and completely, you get temporary result. So Bhakti Yoga, even it is performed imperfectly, Murko Vadati Vishnaya, that Dhiro Vadati Vishnave, that when a person chants the name of Vishnu improperly, still the benefit will be there. Because Krishna is Bhavagragi Janardana. And even if a person performs incompletely, the bhakti process, okay, you are not able to perform completely a service, but still that effort will be taken into account. And then when a person performs completely, correctly, one gets eternal results. Because bhakti is an eternal process. And then they are saying that na vidama iha devana kelanam vayam anu api. Na vidama, we don't know. Kelanam, what insult we committed to the Devatas. Devanam Helanam Vayam Anu Api. We don't know whether we have performed some insult to the Devatas. Yan na grishnanti bhagan swan ya deva karma sakshinaha. Who are the Devatas are the karma sakshina. They are the witnesses of the sacrifice. So here also Prabhupada says that if there is negligence on the part of the priest, the demigods do not accept their share in sacrifices. So even in the deity worship, we have different types of seva aparad. Seva aparad in devotional service, there are 32 types are mentioned, 64 types are mentioned, but they are broadly classified into 5 categories. Negligence in spite of ability. A person has the ability to worship the Lord, celebrate the festival of the Lord in an opulent way, but then one neglects it despite having the ability. That is one seva aparad. Disrespect. Suppose a person enters the temple by wearing the chapel or not paying respects to the deity, or paying respects to the deity using one hand, or pointing at the deity with a finger. These come under the category of disrespect. Or impurity, going to worship the Lord in an unclean body, or to serve the deity with a clothing made of animal hair, spitting while serving the deity. These are all come into the category of impurity. And lack of determination. So while doing deity worship, a person, because of lack of determination, he starts eating some food. Or while doing deity worship, because of lack of determination, he eats unoffered food. Or these are not observing the Ekadashi vows because of lack of determination. And then pride. Pride means a person serves the Lord with great opulence, but one is supposed to think oneself as a humble servant while serving the Lord. But a devotee is proud. With the proud mentality, a person is serving the Lord. To think oneself great, offering many items with great pomp, that's also pride. So Prabhupada talks about the seva aparad in these purports. So just like here, these brahmanas are performing the fire sacrifice. The devatas have not come, so they are wondering. They are trying to do troubleshooting what happened. But Prabhupada is trying to give the same principle in deity worship in the form of these 5 seva aparadas. So Anga Maharaj inquires from the brahmanas, and the Anga is hearing from the brahmana. Yajamana, the Anga Maharaj became Sudurmana. He became very depressed. Tat prashtum vyasrijad vyacham. He took their permission and then he spoke to the assembled persons. Because why he took the permission, it is mentioned. Because during the Karmakanda Yajnas, you should not unnecessarily talk actually. Like even in deity worship, there's this one should talk in front of the deities like that. Except some services required. So the Karmakanda Vidhis, these are all very minute. This one, when a person unnecessarily talks, then the result of you won't get the result of the fire sacrifice. So here Anga Maharaj, being aware of that, he took their permission and then he started inquiring. So here Prabhupada explains. He was supposed to be silent during the sacrifice, but he took permission to speak. Nagachant ahuta deva na grihnanti grahanika. Sadasas patayo bruta kim avadyan maya krutam. He's asking that the devatas, although they are called, they have not come, they are not accepting the share of soma in the sacrifice. Please tell me what offense I have committed. Kim avadyan maya kritam. Tell me if I have committed some offense. So the Brahmanas could see that there is not a single mistake which has been committed in the sacrifice. They already analyzed. They could also see this Anga Maharaj is a very pious person. He has not committed any sin in this life. But the Brahmanas say, probably there is some sin we have committed in the past. And that result is coming here. The fact that you have committed a sin in the past, what is the proof of that? The proof is that you are not having a son. Naradeveha bhavato nagam tavan manak sthitam astyekam praktanam agam yad ihedr tvam apraja. So here in this life, Naradeva, O king, you do not have the slightest sin. Na agam tavan manak sthitam. You have not committed a sin even in your mind. You don't have a slightest sin. But asti ekam, there is one sin from praktanam, from the previous life, by which yad ihedr tvam apraja. Although you are sinless currently, but because of the sin from the past life, you are without a son in this life. So therefore, the devatas have not come, because that the sin is coming in the form of not having a son. Therefore, the devatas are not come. So you see that to get a child, to get a son, it requires a piety actually. It requires a piety. But somehow in Kali Yuga, sometimes modern atmosphere is such that like people, they feel like one telling to one of my cousin sister that you have one son, then have another child, because the child should get the experience of another brother, sister. It will be good for the child. That's the best thing you can give to the child, the experience of another brother, sister. Encourage her, have at least 2 children or 3 children. But then she said that if we have more children, what will the society think? So, I mean, the society has created such an atmosphere that people are, it becomes a stigma on the people when they have more children. Actually, there was one devotee, like he has 3 sons, and then he said, like, people think, oh, people look at me strangely when I see I am having 3 sons. Actually, to have 3 sons is it requires a great piety actually. So, so here this verse says that because of some past sin, you are not having a son. So, but in Kali Yuga, the atmosphere is created in such a way that like, dharma is considered to be adharma and adharma is considered to be dharma. and people, they deliberately put effort not to have a son. So, it's like many strange conceptions come. One is that people they stay together but they don't get married. They get married but don't have a son. So it is like saying that I spent 5 crore rupees to build this house, but I'm not going to stay in the house. The person says like that, it's a strange idea. And why did you put so much effort to build the house if we are not going to stay in the house? Similarly, that the purpose of marriage is to beget children, and whatever culture we have received from our superiors, we actually give the culture to the next generation, because the dharmic population should increase. But the modern scenario is that where people they stay together, don't get married, or they get married but they don't have a son. They don't want to have children. So that means they deliberately adopt some kind of sinful life actually. Not be overtly sinful, but the symptom of the symptom of a sin is that not having a son. So the Brahmanas, because they could foresee, they are actually pointing out this. So in the Yaksha Prashna, Yaksha is asking Yudhishthira Maharaj, Kims with Prasavatam Varam, what is the best among those that are begotten? Yudhishthira Maharaj says that Putraha Prasavatam Varaha, the son is the foremost among those that are begotten. And then therefore the Brahmanas say that Tata Sadaya Badram Te Atmanam Suprajam Rupa. Therefore, produce a good son for yourself, and all fortune will be yours. And then the Supreme Lord, being worshipped by you, will bestow a son to you. Because you are desirous of a son, you worship the Supreme Lord. So previously, Anga Maharaj was performing a yajna too, and he was inviting the different devatas to accept the sacrificial offerings. So now the Brahmanas are saying that you should first call the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes, then the demigods will naturally come. Demigods will naturally follow the Supreme Lord. Previously, he was inviting the Devatas. Devatas did not come, but now they are saying that you worship the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord will bestow a son to you. And when the Supreme Lord comes, the Devatas will naturally follow the Supreme Lord, and they will come and accept your sacrificial offerings. 33rd verse, we will say it together. Tata swabhaga deyani grahishyanti divaukasaha yadyajna purushas sakshat apatyaya harirvritaha.
The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices is invited to fulfill your desire for his son. All the demigods will come with him and take their shares of the sacrifice.
The Devatas will accept their share of the sacrifice, since the Lord of the sacrifice will be present for giving you a son. So we can see the Brahmanas, they not only did the proper troubleshooting, they analyzed the reason why the Devatas were not coming, but they also gave some expert advice. Now you worship the Supreme Lord, and then if the Supreme Lord comes, the Devatas will definitely come. The Supreme Lord will also give you a son. So even it is described that the story of King Gaya, the 5th canto, it's described that when the Supreme Lord is pleased with the person's actions, automatically all the Devatas become pleased. The Supreme Lord, the super soul of everyone, and is by nature fully pleased. And then the being worshipped, the Lord will award whatever one desires. As much as one worships the Lord, one will also receive the results. The Prabhupada quotes that previously, I think as part of this one, they're performing the sacrifice. In every sacrifice, Vishnu is worshipped. Predominantly, the sacrifice was performed to satisfy certain devatas. Of course, every karmakanda yajna, Vishnu is worshipped. But at that time, the devatas did not come. But now they are saying that you first worship the Supreme Lord and you invite him. And then when the Supreme Lord comes, the devatas will also come. The Supreme Lord will bestow you a son, and by you getting a son, your sin will be eradicated, and the devatas will also follow. See, when a person is in the position of a king has to perform different karma kanda yajnas, even if it's a pure devotee. When it's a pure devotee, but when you are living in the world, because the common people, they want to fulfill different material desires. Not everyone is interested in pure devotional service. So the common people, in order to show the right way to the common people, how to fulfill the material desires in a dharmic way, even a pure devotee king like Bharat Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, they would perform sacrifices. Internally, they would have the devotion to Vishnu, but they would perform sacrifices to Vishnu and Devatas. So then in this way, the Brahmanas offered Purodasha to Vishnu with the sankalpa that the king should get a son. So here Prabhupada explains that in the sacrifices, animals are sometimes offered, but animals they get a new life. But such action was an experiment to observe the efficacy of the Vedic mantra. But in the modern times, the animals are killed to test the efficacy of the particular medicine. 36th verse. Tasmat Purusha Uttastau Hemamalyamalambarah Kiranmayena Patrena Siddhamadaya Payasam. You can read translation.
As soon as the oblation was offered in the fire, the person appeared from the fire wearing a golden garment in the white dress. He was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in it.
So a person appeared and with a pot of payasam, like milk or kheer. So the Anga Maharaj, taking the permission of the Brahmanas, took that pot of kheer, smelled it, avagraya mudayukta, smelled it with great delight, and pradat patnya udaradi. He actually gave it to his wife. Udaradi, Prabhupada comments that Anga Maharaj was a liberal-minded person. Actually, his wife Sunita, she didn't have a very high character. She was not, in one sense, qualified to accept this special Mahaprasad Kheer. But Anga Maharaj, being liberal-minded, he gave that kheer to his wife. Sometimes we see that a person becomes very liberal and he may give something valuable to an unqualified person. Then as a result of that, that results in certain reaction. In the one of the 10 offenses to the holy name is to speak the glories of the holy name to the faithless. They speak the glories of the holy name to the faithless. That is actually an offense. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave the holy name without discrimination. Patra, apatra, sthana, sthana. Like he gave the holy name without discriminating, but he didn't speak the glories of the holy name. He gave the holy name, encouraged people to chant. So to speak the glories of the holy name to the faithless, that's an offense. Because when we do that, what happens is that the person to whom we give, he doesn't have faith. When you speak the glories of the holy name, that will induce him to commit offense. He will think that, oh, what are you saying that? आप सब पूरा झूठी बात कह रहे हैं. They will start blaspheming or something. And then because of we becoming instrumental for that person's offense, we also get implicated. So, like Anga Maharaj, this Mahaprasad was something very highly valuable. But Sunita was not qualified. But being liberal-minded, he gave it to Sunita. And then as a result, what happened? The reaction was that a cruel son like Vena was born. So Prabhupada says that, of course, everything is designed with the Supreme Lord, as will be explained in the later verses. This incident was not very favorable for the king. It caused, it became unfavorable for the king himself. Like in a spiritual platform, when you speak the glories of the holy name to the faithless, that eventually causes, that creates trouble for our own spiritual life. That is why this. If the guru knows that a person who has approached him for initiation is an insincere, faithless pretender, but still if the guru heedlessly initiates the unfit person out of consideration for the material gain it may bring him, he is condemned as a namaparadi. If the guru was unable to make a correct assessment and give the candidate initiation, only to later discover that he is a pretender, the guru must make immediate redress for his mistake. So these are all points related. So then, so although the queen had no son, after eating that kheer, which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and due course of time she gave birth to a son. 39th verse. Sabala eva purusho matatmakamanu adarmam shodbhavam mrityum tena bhavadadarmikah.
That God was born partially the Danish integer. His grandfather was death was on a car. The boy grew up as horrible. He became greatly irreligious person.
So we see, because of the fault on the mother's side, he became irreligious. But because of Vena was born from the Mahaprasada Vishnu, and also his father Anga Maharaj was a great devotee, a very dharmic person. So therefore, the birth of Vena also became beneficial to the father because he gave birth to Prutu and thereby increased the fame of the family. So you can see the duality of this world. One side, sometimes so Anga Maharaj was a very great devotee, was a very great soul. So his semen was pure. But suppose if there is a pure water, one devotee was giving this example, but in another context. Pure water, but if it is going through the dirty cloth as the filter, then what comes out will be the dirty water. So the woman's womb is like a filter. So the semen from the man, even if that is pure, but if the woman's womb is an impure filter, the result will be impure water. Because Sunita did not have a proper character, although Anga Maharaj was a great person, the son who was born he didn't have the proper character. So therefore Prabhupada explains here that according to the axiomatic truth that things equal to the same thing are equal to one another, the child born of King Anga became the follower of his maternal grandfather. So Sunita was a daughter of death personified. Generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father, the son acquires those of the mother. Sunita, I heard that Sunita was actually, Krishna Chakravarti says that Sunita was a daughter of Adharma. She comes the dynasty of Adharma. The male child took after his maternal grandfather Death, who appeared as a portion of Adharma. The maternal grandfather was Death, not Yamaraj. Yamaraj is a Mahabhagavata. But maternal grandfather was Death, who is a portion of Adharma. So if you remember like in the 4th canto, 8th chapter beginning, the Dhruva Maharaj's episode when it began, the Adharma family was described. So the Sunita's father was a Amsha of this Adharma. And therefore, the daughter gets the qualities of the father, and the son gets the qualities of the mother, or the son gets the qualities of the maternal grandfather. Maternal grandfather was an Amsha of Adharma. Therefore, the Vena, he became Adharmic. So here, if the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of the maternal family. So therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the boys and the girls' families. If according to the astrological calculation, the combination is perfect, then the marriage takes place. But however, there is a mistake and family life becomes frustrating. So King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was a daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home life and make progress in devotional life. And that is what Krishna says, Hari Yasyagam Anugrishnami Harishye Tatanam Shanaihi. Sometimes the Lord makes such an arrangement for a devotee to become detached. So we'll just complete with the next verse. So this Vena, like Vena's character was exactly opposite to Paradukka Dukhi. A devotee is the Vaishnava is supposed to have the quality of Paradukka Dukhi, but Vena had the quality of Paradukka Sukhi. He would take such a sadistic pleasure in giving trouble to other people. So you can see the perverted nature of a living entity in seeking pleasure by seeing others unhappy. There was one dictator in Russia, I think Stalin or somebody. Like once he was asked that, what is the greatest pleasure in your life? He said, when one of the most trusted person when I suddenly shoot him, when I'm about to shoot him, shoot my most trusted person, just before shooting, the emotions which I can see in the face of the trusted person, to see those emotions is my greatest happiness. So it is a very sadistic pleasure actually. Somebody has put a complete trust in serving somebody, and suddenly that very person is about to shoot you. Like how much that person will be like surprised. To see those emotions is the pleasure of this dictator. So one class Maharaj explained that the spirit soul, uh, the nature of the spirit soul is to seek pleasure. But the essence, the origin of all pleasure is the pleasure of love. When the desire to love Krishna becomes perverted, we are supposed to seek the pleasure in serving Krishna. But when the activity of seeking pleasure becomes perverted, then we actually seek pleasure in such a perverted way in seeing the misery of others. And that is what we see in the character of Vena. So we'll see that in tomorrow's class. We'll complete this chapter. Anybody has any questions? Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam.